the Hydralisk Den morphing in. Great transition after surviving the Protoss 4 gate is you've got all these roaches, get Hydralisks. Hydralisks are your real damage dealers. The roaches primarily are your tanking units, and you want those in the front to tank the Zealots as well as the Stalkers while your Hydralisks deal damage in the back. So my Hydralisk Den is on the way. You guys can see I'm really short on gas though, and I've got quite a few drones, so I really do need to eke out a little bit more gas here. But it's okay, I've survived the Protoss 4 gate. I have a better economy than my opponent because he didn't expand. I have 2 expansions compared to his 1 base. And I'm also getting upgrades on these 2 Evo chambers that I originally planted down primarily to block off the Zealots from hitting the spine crawlers. That's the main reason why you want those Evo chambers there, is to prevent the Zealots from hitting your spine crawlers. Now you can use them to upgrade. I'm also going to move out with my roaches a little bit, attack these pylons, and you should be spreading the creep as much as you possibly can with your queen. One other thing I forgot to mention about my Zerg play when I do fast expand is I always get at least 3 queens. I get 2 queens right away from the main as soon as the spawning pool is done, and I get 1 on the natural as soon as that hatchery is done. So you'll have 3 queens, and 3 queens are also great for defending against early aggression like that 4 gate. They can heal with transfusion, they can keep your spine crawlers alive, they do a lot of damage on the creep as well. So they're overall pretty great units. It's always a good idea to have excess queens. And then you can use the 3rd one to dedicate to only spreading creep as the game approaches the mid game. Now this is going to be the transition into basic survival mode once you have survived the 4 gate, or the transition into macro mode, excuse me. So you guys can see I am going to start expanding. I have a lot of minerals but no gas, and that's because I simply cannot keep up with my larva production. Off of 2 hatcheries, it can be difficult with all these excess minerals, and of course it doesn't help that my overlords are dying to those stalkers. I'm trying to spread them out as much as I can because you want as much info, but you also got to be careful not to lose them, and it's tough when your opponent has so many stalkers on the field. But I am getting a 3rd expansion right now. The transition into macro, once you survive that Protoss 4 gate, you're considerably ahead at this point, because the Protoss probably just secured his natural. He's still pretty far behind. You've got a better army composition. And it's just important to, at this point, actually get Zergling speed. Once you get a nice army of Roach Hydra, what I like to do is get a ton of Zerglings, because you're going to have all these leftover minerals. And if you guys look at my hotkeys, you guys can see that I have 1 for Roaches, 2 for Hydras, and 3 for Zerglings. And what I like to do with my army is wait. I like to wait for my opponent to attack. Once he attacks me on the creep, I engage with my Roaches and Hydras, and of course the Roaches are in front because they're on their own hotkey, 1, Hydras are in the back, and then I like to use my Zerglings as 3 to surround and come from behind and flank the Protoss army. And it's a wise idea to wait until the sentries use all their force fields so they can't use it on your Zerglings. So you guys can see I'm still having a bit of a larva issue because I'm trying to get this 3rd expansion up, but I am pumping as many Zerglings as my hatchery production will allow. I have quite a lot of minerals right now, so a little bit lacking in the macro. Really going to get a 4th expansion up as well, but at this point just biding my time, just waiting, continuing to spread that creep. And now that my Zerglings have speed, I am ready to attack, or at least to defend when the next attack should occur. And yeah, just waiting right now. This is pretty much Zerg mid-game. You don't want to overextend yourself. Keep producing drones in the entire mid-game, and once you're fully saturated, you can start to produce more army units. That 3rd base is also fully saturated with drones right now as well. And yeah, there you guys can see fully saturated. Gonna get more extractors for that Vespene gas, which I really do need quite a bit. But my army, as you guys can see, the hotkey's still going. 1 for Roaches, 2 for Hydras, 3 for Zerglings. My Zerglings hiding at that watchtower. And here we go. Here's the engagement. You guys can see I'm bringing the Zerglings around to flank from the back. Gonna pull the Roaches, Hydras back after the force fields have been used. And now engaging with all of my forces. And the sentries, as you guys can see, not using their force fields. Kind of catching the Protoss player off his feet. He did not expect to get surrounded on the creep right there. And that is how you defend against a Protoss attack or Terran attack. The Zerg is all about swarming and surrounding. And then from there on out, just pushing forward for the victory. and yeah, my opponent leaves the game. So that is that, and that is a basic how to survive and how to transition out of a Protoss 4-gate if you're a Zerg player. Alright, so due to popular demand, I will go ahead and show you guys the build order that I used against this 4-gate strategy. And as you guys can see, just mass pumping drones. This is, by the way, the post-replay analysis. Just pumping mass drones all the way up to 9, getting an Overlord at 9 supply, and then continuing to make drones all the way till that spawning pool at 15. So you guys can see throwing down that spawning pool, which then makes you 14. And the reason why I did that, like I said, I scouted him out. I saw he wasn't going to pressure me early on, so I knew 15 pool was fine. I didn't have to go for a 14 pool. And then getting your hatchery around 16, which is just 2 more supply over the spawning pool, and continuing to pump those drones. And you guys can see getting 1 queen out right away, getting 1 pair of Zerglings at 18, and then getting the second queen right after the first queen finishes. Really important to get that second queen ASAP to help you defend as well as spread creep. And once again, you guys can see only getting 1 pair of Zerglings the entire early game, because you don't really want to waste your larva getting too many. You just need 2 for pure scouting purposes. Going down the build order list, you guys can see I do get the layer around 27, get an extractor after the layer, the second extractor. You already have your first one then. And getting the 3rd queen at that natural expansion, as you guys can see. And at that 5-minute 33 mark, which is around 7 minutes in real time, that is when I did scout the 4-gate out, and I started to throw down the first spine crawler. And so very important to react once you see that 4-gate coming. You guys can see more spine crawlers, evo chambers in front of the spine crawlers to help you defend against the zealots so they can't hit the spine crawlers. Get the roach warren out once you see that 4-gate as well, after your spine crawlers and evo chambers are up, and then just stop producing drones and start producing mass Zergling, mass roach to deal with that 4-gate. Now you can also just produce mass roach as well, but then if they go heavy stalker, you could be in trouble. You can also try going pure hydra, but that is very, very difficult to do, so I don't recommend that. And there you guys saw down there was more roaches. So yeah, that's the basic opening build order, and the rest of it is just how you play the game. So that's the build, and hopefully you guys don't die to 4-gate if you're Zerg. So if you guys enjoyed what you saw, make sure to subscribe, and more tutorials as well as shoutcasts coming in the near future. Thanks a lot, guys. HD signing out.